Hello everyone, and welcome back to the GT improvement course. I have 5 more measurement word problems here for you. These ones are a little bit tougher, so hopefully you've got your notes and you've had your coffee and you're ready to go. All right, I've got my gallon house here with all my measurements just to help me in this problem. So let's go ahead and start on number 1. Go ahead and pause your video and solve on your own, and then I'll work it out for you after. Okay, the wording on this problem is kind of tricky. How many half pints can be drawn from 7 3/4 gallons? Okay, so how I saw this, and you could have done it differently, but how I interpreted this is half pints. There's 2 pints in 1 cup, right? Or excuse me, 2 cups in 1 pint. 2 cups in 1 pint. So if I had half of a pint, I would only have 1 cup. So if I have half of a pint, that means I would only have 1 cup. So what I did with this is I just crossed that out and I said, okay, well, a half a pint is the same thing as 1 cup. So now the question is, how many cups can be drawn from 7 3/4 gallons? So I have 7 3/4 gallons, and I'm trying to translate into how many cups that is. So I'm going big to small, so I'm going to multiply all. I know there are 16 cups in a gallon, so I'm going to multiply 7 3/4 times 16. Now you could have done 7 3/4 and used the fraction version, or what I thought might be faster is change it to a decimal. We know that 3/4 is the same thing as 0.75. So that's what I did. I did 7.75 times 16, and that got me Bravo, which is 124. Okay? All right, go on to the next one. All right, this one's tricky as well. If you remember when we were talking about ounces, there are fluid ounces, which is a measure of volume, and then ounces can also be weight. So 16 ounces equals 1 pound. 8 fluid ounces equals 1 cup. So this one's a little tricky. So it says if a liquid ounce of lead weighs 7.5 ounces, how many quarts of lead will weigh 15 pounds? In this particular problem, I decided to set up a proportion. I said 1 liquid ounce weighs 7.5 ounces. How many quarts of lead will weigh 15 pounds? So the first thing I did here is determine my 2 groups, which in this case is volume and weight. So the volume is 1 ounce, 1 fluid ounce. And that 1 fluid ounce weighs 7.5 ounces. Now, they're gonna try to trick you here. Now over here, because we're using fluid ounces and ounces, the same has to be over here. Oops, excuse me. Fluid ounces and ounces. So, the group that they changed, how many quarts of lead will weigh 15 pounds. I'm trying to figure out the volume. So my X is gonna go here, and they change the weight. Remember, this represents the weight. And we could even put that to volume, weight, weight. Weighs 15 pounds. Now, I can't put 15 here because this is supposed to be ounces. So the first thing I need to do is figure out how many ounces are in 15 pounds. And I would do that by 15 pounds equals how many ounces? So big to small, multiply all. There are 16 ounces in a pound. So 15 times 16 gives you 240 ounces. 240 ounces. All right, now I've got my proportion set up. So with this one, I can't do scale factor, so I'm just going to cross multiply. So I'm going to have 7.5x equals 240. Divide both sides by 7.5. And when you do that, you get 32 ounces. So 32 ounces is my answer, but the question isn't how many ounces of lead will weigh 15 pounds. So the answer is not A, even though it's exciting that we see a number that matches this math we just did. The question is how many quarts. So our last step is we need to convert 32 ounces. We need to figure out how many quarts that represents. And if you remember, there are 8 ounces in 1 cup. 8 ounces in 1 cup, and there are 4 cups in a quart. So we are going to divide this there are 4 ounces, 8 ounces in a cup. So that means a whole quart has 8, 16, 24, 32 ounces. So 32 ounces represents 1 quart. So the answer is B. This was a super tricky one. Hopefully you understand. If you had a different way that you solved it, please comment down in the comments and explain how you did it. All right, number 3, go ahead and pause and try to solve this one. All right, for this one, I kind of did something similar as to what we did up here. The question is how many 8-ounce glasses are there in 3/4 of a gallon? I just decided, well, 8 ounces, that's the same thing as 1 cup, right? So I reread this question as how many cups are in 3/4 of a gallon? So I'm gonna pull my gallon house. If I had 3/4 of a gallon, that means that I would have not 4 out of 4, but 3 out of 4. So then I just counted up the cups. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So there are 12 cups in a gallon, or in 3/4 of a gallon. You also could have done your big to small. So 3/4 of a gallon is how many cups? So big to small, multiply all. There are 16 cups in a gallon. So we would multiply by 16, but you would still end up getting 12. So either way works. All right, go ahead and work on number 4. Okay, number 4. This one tried to trick you as well. A 2.5 ton truck can hold 1,500 pounds of cargo. How much weight in tons? How much does it weigh in tons when fully loaded? So we have a 2.5 ton truck, and it can hold 1,500 pounds of cargo. So what I need to do is figure out what is the total weight when fully loaded by adding those two together. So 2.5 tons plus 1,500 pounds. So 2.5 tons. Well, I know that 2 tons would be, there's 2,000 pounds in 1 ton. So that means that 2 tons is going to be, 4,000 pounds. And if I have a half of a ton, well, 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. So a half of a ton would be 1,000 pounds. So that means that 2.5 tons represents 5,000 pounds. Okay, then I'm going to add my 1,500 pounds of cargo. So I get 6,500 pounds. And the question is, how much does it weigh in tons? So these answer choices are all in tons. It doesn't weigh 6,500 tons, it weighs 6,500 pounds. So we know basically all of these are out because we're gonna have to end up converting that to tons. And we're going small to big, divide the pig. So the only answer that makes sense is delta, 3 1/4. Okay, number 5. Go ahead and pause and do that one. Oops, sorry. All right, number 5. 10 barrels of oil containing 58 gallons each hold enough oil to fill up 8 identical storage tanks. How many quarts of oil can each storage tank hold? All right, definitely a couple ways that you could do this one. When I did this problem, the first thing that I did is if I have 10 barrels of oil and they each hold 58 gallons, the first thing that I did is I did 10 times 58, which is 580. So that represents the total gallons that all 10 of these barrels are holding. Okay, so that's the first thing I did, the total amount of oil that I have, 580 gallons. Then it says, containing 58 gallons, each hold enough oil to fill up 8 identical storage tanks. So we're gonna take this 580 total gallons that we have, and we're gonna divide it amongst our 8 storage tanks. So I'm gonna do 580 divided by 8. 8 goes into 58 7 times. 8 goes into 20 twice. And 8 goes into 40 5 times. Okay, so 72 and a half. So we just figured out that if I take my 580 gallons and I divide it amongst those 8 storage tanks, each storage tank is gonna hold 72 and a half gallons of oil, okay? Now the question is, how many quarts of oil can each storage tank hold? So now all we need to do is figure out how many quarts, 72 and a half gallons is. So 72 and a half gallons is how many quarts, so we're going big to small, multiply all. There are 8 quarts in a gallon, so I'm gonna multiply this by 4. And when you do that, you get alpha, 290. Okay, hopefully you did really well. Definitely comment below if you did any of these problems a different way, which I'm sure there are some of you did. Please comment and explain how you did it to the rest of the folks, because there's usually more than one way to solve these problems. All right, hopefully that helps you. These are probably some of the toughest ones you're gonna see. So hopefully you're doing well in the measurement department, okay? Have a great night, and we'll see you at the next video.